All right, thank you, sir. Please let us know your name
Good
and
morning.
your
My name is
organization.
Moshe Neumann from Classic Moldings. We are in an interior construction, design and construction company, and we are very happy to be here. The presentation we have seen is very, very interesting, impressive, realistic, though I think that in the last few days things changed. I think that we are all, I'm more optimistic than I'm going to sound in the very beginning, but I think that in the near future, we should expect a certain drop because of the loss of enthusiasm. Actually, the loss of enthusiasm is not only because of the actual terrible event we have experienced, but because of the uncertainty that we don't really know how things are being tackled, how things are really progressing, what's the truth about things. So here comes the optimistic thing. I think, and before I go to the optimistic thing, I think that we will see neighboring countries, those dealing with safaris like Tanzania. I like the Tanzanians very much, and every time we suffer something in Kenya, we realize that there is intensive advertising come for safari in Tanzania, and they do it very well. I think that Kenyan businessmen, I am originally from elsewhere, but I identify as a Kenyan businessman, if you may allow me. I think we need to work very hard now, right now, to lift up the morale of business, the enthusiasm, to discuss with authorities, with ministries, to discuss very seriously how do we give confidence to travel agents abroad. Then we need some assurances of security. But I really think that business forum must come, one big, massive business forum that moves all the business sectors in Kenya forward, massive forward, before we crash down. I would like to hear your opinion about it. Thank you.
I'll have Josephat comment on that.
Thank you very much for that question. Actually, it reminds me of an oversight on our part, because the event that you have talked about was tragic, and our intention was actually, many of us were affected in one way or the other. We actually intended to observe a moment of silence. So could I ask all of you to stand up? We observe a moment of silence, and I'll answer that question. In your own way, just pray for the souls of those who died and a quick recovery for those who are still injured. May the Lord rest their souls in peace, comfort their families, and a quick recovery to the injured. Thank you. Thank you very much for raising this issue. I think, first of all, for me, the matter of security and the response that we get from the international community is very, very important. And before I talk about the business community and the government, I would like to talk about us. Because what this incident reminds us is that we are all responsible in one way or the other for ensuring through our own compliance with the laws and being vigilant that we have the right environment to operate in. less than 2 weeks after the incident, we somehow seem to be going back to our own old ways. Our overlapping, whatever it is that we want to do, the paying of bribes, we are back to those old ways. And really for me, what this incident reminded us is that these little things that we allow, this car that brought these people may have been overlapping somebody, and maybe if just somebody had stood up to them, yes, it might have been risky, but it could have saved lives and an entire institution. So somehow we have to find in ourselves what we do to make sure that none of us are affected. But also I want to congratulate Kenyans and people who live in Kenya, because Kenyans these days has a broader term. We have citizens, we have visitors, and we have international citizens who have chosen to make Kenya their home. And we, all of us, came together in a wonderful way to respond to this situation. But one of the things I remember, one of the messages, I was actually in Vienna at a meeting on that Saturday. I was on my way back. And a number of people that I had met there were asking me about this. And I was saying, yes, this was tragic and we lost very many people. But one of the things that we want to determine as a country is that this event will not define us. This event will not define our spirit. And I was encouraging those who we had business with to continue to make their trip to come over and encourage them to see that even immediately after this event, you will see another side of Kenya. And I was happy to know that even on the flight that I was on in Amsterdam, I mean, we had all the international screens covering the incident, but the flight was still full. Nobody decided to go back home because of what they were seeing on the screen. And that is positive in itself. We have been engaging with some parties in government, and tomorrow evening, we are expecting at least 2 cabinet secretaries to join us, and we hope that they will be speaking to this issue. And the point is that there are serious issues that need to be addressed from what I would call a citizen vigilance perspective, as well as from a security perspective. Now, we do not expect to hear every single detail about what is being done about security, because actually that in itself could be a source of insecurity. One of my disappointments when I was watching that event is that our local and international media wanted to hear every single detail, wanted to broadcast every single detail of what was unfolding at Westgate. I don't think you can manage an international crisis that way. And I think we saw the same thing happening in Washington when there was that incident around the White House. The media is very keen to capture every little detail and communicate it live. And I was wondering to myself, if, God forbid, this lady had been a bomber, and their colleagues are seeing, they would be able to communicate what is happening around them. So we have to be wiser in terms of even how we expect to manage these issues ourselves. But my point is this: as a business community, I think we should better understand the environment we operate in. We should better understand the business that we are in. And many of us know, yes, this event was horrible, this event was tragic, but we know the broader environment that we're operating in. And my encouragement is that let us understand that. Let us continue with our investment. Let us continue to employ people. Let us continue to run our businesses. Yes, of course, we have to be more vigilant, but even as we expect government. Now, the other point is that there are various groupings that we have that are engaging with government. And we are going to be asking the difficult questions in those fora through what I call private candor. That, I don't have to stand here and ask all the questions. But in private sessions with government, we should be able to ask these questions, and we should be able to get comfort on the measures that are being taken to ensure that we are secure. But I have no doubt that as a country, we are secure. We are paying a very heavy price for the stand that we have taken in the fight against terrorism and and who we have chosen to be our friends, but that is not going to deter us from being who we are and who we believe we can be as a country. So I am still very, very positive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josephat, for that assurance. And I know he works very closely with the government, and then therefore what he's saying is really very true. So let's hear another question. I hope that does give you a good level of confidence to continue doing what you're doing very well. So thank you very much for that question. Do we have another question? There is a question right there. There's a young lady at the back there.
Hi. Just to add on, these days for the tourism, the tour operators have been asked to charge 16% on the VAT bill. So coming from the hospitality industry, the tourism may go down, and as he said before, tourists going on to Tanzania, South Africa for their safaris. What happens to us if the 16% gets implemented?
Okay, that's the first question. What happens to us because of this introduction of 16% that is affecting our tourism and travel industry and possibly driving away potential visitors away from Kenya? So we'll park that question and come back to it. Yes, sir? Is that a question? Is that your hand? No? Oh, there, okay. Maurice,
Right.
please put that down.
My name is Dinesh Patel from Eurocon Tile Products. Now, how do we get the government to be accountable? Because there's a lot of unaccountability in their processes. When it comes to raising MP's salary, we see it done in a day's time. Civil servants is taking 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. How do we get the government to be accountable for each and every action they have?
Okay, getting government accountable for their actions. Thank you very much. What do we need to do to get that happening? All right, so I'll take another question and then we're going to answer. There's a question right here. Thank you very much. Yeah, you could give her the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Njoki Riguga from Ryrex East Africa Limited. My question goes to decline in the investment in the East Africa region, despite mentioning, maybe we should consider South Sudan, Ethiopia, and DRC. But then I'm looking at the spirit of, East Africa investment should be increasing investment across the countries. I'm wondering why that, and moving on, because there's a lot of policy and regulation towards promoting investment in the area around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll take those three questions, and okay, I'll take yours a little after. So let's do, okay, all right, let's take that one. Okay, let's hear your question. Okay, all right.
Hi. Good morning, guys. My
Good
name
morning.
is Arfan. I'm from Famia Generating Systems. We're suppliers of power generator. A couple of weeks back, the government had announced VAT, and we were all running in darkness. We didn't know whether we were supposed to invoice or not to invoice. We lost some business because of delays of raising invoices. There are no clear-cut where do we make inquiries from. We just tend to dash around and ask from each other how to get this information. I mean, how does the government deal with such kind of information? And they want it spontaneously and instantly.
Okay. Information with regard to some of the new regulations implemented on VAT, for example. So we'll write that down. Any other question? Any other burning question? Okay, did I see your hand, or it was a greeting across the room? Okay, let's take those answers, those questions, and we can answer them. Who will go first? Investment across East Africa?
Okay. Question regarding the investment across East Africa. So, the survey actually said that there was a reduction across Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. But what we didn't figure out is whether there was an increase across going to Ethiopia and South Sudan. I think that what's happening is as our ports open up and we're getting more, if you like, the Ugandans buying directly from the suppliers and bypassing what used to happen is to buy it from Kenya. Same thing is happening, I think, across countries like Rwanda and Burundi. My sense is that it's just, I think the exports are going, there are less exports going from Kenya to these countries, but more to the COMESA countries. So I would like to come back to you on that after I've drilled down more on the results. Actually want to sit down with IPOS and find out more, because I wondered what that was the reason. Now you do have to say that tax is also a reason sometimes. You know, you've got certain products which are taxable in Uganda and not in Kenya, and you see those flows. You see that actually happening in the sugar industry, in the packaging industry. So there could be that sometimes they have got regulations coming up in if you like, East Africa countries outside of Kenya that's causing that dip. So I think there are a couple of reasons there, is my view.
I think to add on to that, the whole area of East African community remains somewhat uncertain in some respects, because the 5 countries are not always pulling in the same direction. So those people who may have made attempts to expand into the region, there are some areas where you have burnt, your fingers, and did tell us, for example, the challenges that the Nation Media Group is experiencing in that. But really, for me, the issue is that whatever challenges we are facing with regard to East Africa, we need to recognize that the size of this market presents opportunities that are worth those challenges. That we need to continue to pursue those opportunities irrespective of the challenges that we are facing. And that's the same point I would like to bring to the people in the tourism and travel sector. I don't think VAT or these security issues is the only challenge that you're actually going to face. There will be a number of issues, whether it's, for example, even in the fluctuations in the price of oil. There will be a number of challenges that you'll face. The people in the travel industry, for now, actually, you should be rethinking your business altogether. Because, for example, in KPMG, and in the meeting that we were at the other day, I was told that KPMG globally is one of the top 20 global spenders on travel. And I said, wow, which business are we in? And one of the things that we are investing in is internal systems for booking our tickets. So what happens to all those commissions that those travel agents were getting from one, a big player like that? So you need to start looking at all the challenges that you're going to be facing and look to the next level, innovation, as Shil was talking about, and decide, okay, VAT presents certain challenges. How can I package this? How can I package the value that is offered by Kenya? Again, this is why I was talking about understanding your business, understanding the environment that you're in. Because when you look at the past, when you look at the tourists that are going to come, that have been coming into Kenya, quite honestly, if you're in this business, do you think a 20% increase in price is going to stop somebody who has planned a lifetime trip into East Africa? Pardon? Yeah, you need, so for me, what the issue is that you need to learn to package that offering. You need to learn to package the proposition that you're presenting. You need to understand the source of this market. And actually, this challenge should get you off your back seat. Let me just put it that way. And decide who else can we get in here? How can we actually end up increasing our business irrespective of the challenges that we are facing at the moment? Now, on these questions that we are receiving about government, let me just clarify one thing. My name is Josephat Mwaura. I work for KPMG. I do not hold brief for government. Yeah? But there are groupings. I don't know how many of you are members of a business association. Okay? Does that business association have an agenda to engage with government? Okay? So that's the first point of entry. If you're not a member of a business association, make sure that you sign up to a business association and you participate. Because some of you are also very good at just paying the fees and you never really attend the meetings, you never set the agenda of your association. So participate, set the agenda, make sure, in particular, because I keep saying the private sector may be the engine of growth. The government is everything else in that vehicle. And have never seen an engine on the road on its own. So you need the chassis, you need the body, you need everything else. So make sure that your business association has a very clear agenda on how it will engage with government. And if you're not already members as an association, connect with KEPSA. KEPSA has access to government like no other business association has. And the KEPSA, actually, when, I remember we sat down and talked about this in 2003, about creating an umbrella association in Kenya that will have cloud, that will be able to sit across the table, that Vimosha, if you present your agenda to Vimosha, Vimosha can present that agenda to any level of government. I'm sure you've seen that. So if your association is also not a member of KEPSA and your association's agenda is not on KEPSA's agenda, make sure that it gets there. But finally, government has also gone E. So you will find a number of opportunities to electronically engage with government. So I know KRA have got various avenues of engagement with government because their business is to increase their performance. And they want to make it as easy as possible for you to pay. So if you look through their website, you will find avenues through which sort of taxpayer information is provided. And one of the things maybe you should also arrange is for your association to invite Mr. Njiraini or his representative to come and answer your questions. Okay? I hope I've been as clear as I could be. Thank you very much. I think that's all the time that we have. Robert will tell us what happens now. And I encourage you to have your tea very quickly when you go for tea, because I haven't introduced Mr. Paul Kinothia yet. Paul, do you want to stand up so that when they come back, they will see you? Do you know this man? Okay. Paul will be sharing with us his journey after tea. Paul was one time a participant. He graduated to Club 101. He's in another club now. And he'll tell us, you have no class now. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Yes, there's one quick question here.
My name is Gautam. I am from Vajra Drill. I'm the director of this company. Now, I'm seeing here, you have taken the KPMG, especially the profitable and financial stability. And have you taken care about the quality of the product, what the business is doing, and survey? Because you are saying top 100. You see, the top 100, all the companies are not in the country who has applied in the application who has filled for the top 100 companies. In these top 100 companies, have you taken care of the services? Have you taken care of the quality of the product? Because yours is accounting firm, KPMG, we know it's the biggest and largest accounting firm. Why you have not taken and why you said top 100?
Were you here when Maurice was presenting? Were you here when this gentleman was presenting? Okay, right. Be present, eh? Because he answered that question. The top 100 survey is about an objective analysis of the numbers, that I can take one person and the next business and compare this revenue growth, profitability, and liquidity. Okay? So if you're growing your revenue, you're growing your revenue because your customers like your product. Why do they like your product? Pardon? Okay. So what Maurice said is that the other aspects of your business, whilst we are not directly looking at them, they will be indirectly measured by these three ratios that we are using to rank. So no, we are not coming into your business to ask what certificates. We are asking you to tell us what certificates you've got, but we are not using that for ranking. Because if you indeed have a good product, it will show up in your revenue growth. If your customers like it, if your customers, okay, part of the reason why people don't pay their debts is A, they don't have the money to pay, or B, they didn't like the service that you provided. Okay? So if they are paying your debts, if your liquidity ratio is also good, it means people are happy to part with their money for your product or service. Have I answered your question? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Just before we go on break, I'm informed Ochieng Rapuro, the managing editor of the Business Daily, wants to make a comment. Ochieng Rapuro? Is he here? Yeah. Okay. Here he comes. Please make it brief so that we can all go out and have tea.
Thank you, Robert. I just wanted to make a short comment on the question that was asked about engagement with government and making government accountable. I think Josephat has already answered part of the question, but in a democracy which we live in, like Kenya, the best way to make government accountable is through what they call active citizenship. You know, we as the citizens are the ones who can hold the government accountable. And therefore, through our own, what they call the civil society. The civil society is a large space in which you have business associations that Josephat has referred to. You have non-governmental organizations, you have churches, you have ordinary citizen groups. These are the groups that must be actively involved in engaging government and holding it accountable, including ourselves in the media, raising these issues, asking these hard questions. On the question that somebody raised about, for example, the example that was given of members of parliament raising their salaries, you know, despite the effort that has been made to contain them, both in the constitution and in other laws, I think we all know what happened. The citizens really tried in various ways to stop this from happening. And many other things, you know, when the teachers come, they want a salary. When other government employees want an increment in salary, it is business through our associations that we can engage government and actually make them realize that the track we have taken is actually working against the goose that lays the golden egg. So there is no other way in a democracy to hold government accountable apart from having active citizens who can engage. If you pull back
your own cocoon, do not expect some other person to take it upon themselves to engage government and hold it accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rapuro.